Izzy, welcome to the Big Lad podcast. How are we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good.
For the listeners and viewers, would you like to give yourself a little bit of an introduction?
Okay. So my name's Izzy Winckles and I'm a swimming teacher and I'm all into mindset, growth, a little bit of spirituality, being the best version of yourself, holistic health, yeah, all that kind of shebang.
Quite a lot of topics that we're going to sort of touch on today. But
Can't wait.
first of all, basically how we met, I think it was nearly 4 years ago now?
4? No, I think
Is
about
it?
3.
Three?
About
Three
3.
or four?
About 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So we'll play it out. I'm in JD gym. I've just about made it onto the treadmills with a leg brace. I've limped through the gym. You literally joined the treadmill next to me, and as I glanced, I thought, I'm sure that's that lad that went to Andy, which was me physio in Winslow. So I'm not expecting to see anyone really that's been to him. And I was thinking, and I'm like, I can't not say something. I was like, I'm going to say something. And the backstory was, I'd watched one of your videos that he must have put on his story probably about 3 years ago. And you were talking about your knee because I was desperately trying to suss out what was wrong with mine. Obviously, it was completely different, but it was worth a listen to. And you were stood next to me and I was like, I'm going to have to say something. I was like, have you been to Andy Renshaw? And you took your headphones out and you were like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And then that's it.
Yeah, literally. So I vlogged my knee rehab because I was trying to do a bit of YouTube at the time. Seemed like a pretty significant thing in my life at the time to get some decent vlogs out of, and not just that, so I could look back at sort of my exercises and form throughout the rehab to make sure it was sort of improving. And then, yeah, similar to you, I didn't expect to see anyone that I knew, especially with it being in Manchester.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's sort of grown from there, hasn't it?
Yeah, it must have been. I had me op in October 2022. So it must have been.
Okay. Yeah, it was around then.
I only had the brace for 6 weeks, so it must have been within that time.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Time
I literally
flies.
was like, oh my God. And I was like, I'll have to say something.
Yeah. I've actually had Andy on the podcast before as well.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I've watched it.
Which was good, that one. If you've not watched that one, I'll put a link in the description below.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I'll be raving about him today.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Well, I'm now back for my third lot of knee rehab. Unfortunately not with Andy, because he no longer takes Bupa patients, but still in the good hands of a guy called Dave. So, yeah.
Yeah,
See how it goes.
I think they're all good at Harrison and Ross. It's like a different world. The private physio, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's the background they come from as well. Quite a lot of them are... so Andy was head of physio at Liverpool, and I believe the guy that I'm with, Dave, now worked at Man City, so there's obviously quite an elite level of athlete that they deal with. I'm not saying I'm an elite level of athlete at all, but it's good to know that they've dealt with those calibre of people.
Yeah, no, it's different. I found it was a different world, to be honest. I literally could not believe it. Yeah, it's fantastic.
So just touching on your knee injury then, what is it and how has it changed your life?
Oh, how long have we got?
As long as you want.
Wow. Well, a little bit of backstory. I'll try not to dwell on how I actually did it, but I was 18 at the time and I hurt it through an accident in work where I had my leg wrapped around the table leg. I was actually sat there writing. I was at the time I was lifeguarding actually on the day, but I was a swimming teacher as well at the time. And someone I knew that I was friends with at the time pulled the chair, but I didn't realise it, and he didn't realise my leg was around the table leg, so it was a complete honest mistake. And at the time, my leg did go, but it twanged, and I tore my calf at the time, which is very, very painful, rehabbing a torn calf. Oh my God, it was horrible. But my knee never really went back to normal. And that was about 6 months before COVID. And then just before COVID, I started having an MRI and it was all coming back clear. And I was like, well maybe it'll go away. Over time, it just didn't go away. I'd have another MRI. No, there's nothing wrong. Don't worry, it's nothing wrong. I tried physio through the NHS. I tried physio privately. It was just weak glute muscles. I went to sports massage. Oh, it's just tight muscles. It's just this. I tried all these different things and I was like, I know there's something wrong, but at the same time, I'm definitely not one of these that's like, oh, I really want there's something to be wrong. But I was
Yeah.
like, I know my body, like something doesn't feel like it's something inside is like catching something's wrong. And then we were like going back and forth, and then they would at the NHS basically like my doctors wouldn't refer me to see like a knee surgeon or a specialist because they were like, we can't, like your scan's clear, so there's nothing wrong. We can only put you back through the NHS physio. But like the physio they had me doing, I was in like agony. Obviously I was following it because I wanted to get better, but looking back now, it's mad. They had me like, because they thought it was tight muscles because the scan was clear, they'd have me extending my knee to stretch my leg, which you couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm trying to follow it, but I'm in agony. And I started going back to work, and I literally got on the phone to this doctor, and he was fantastic. He was like, all the others would just palm me off, and he was like, I do think there could be something wrong with your knee, but I can't do anything. And he wouldn't tell me Andy's name at first. He was like, it's just this company called Harrison Ross. I've used them, but they're completely different. And he explained, he was like, even though your scan's clear, there could be something wrong. And I was like, really? Because everyone else that I've spoken to, physios, more sports, they're all saying, oh, that's not possible. So then he gave me Andy's name, and I was like, right. And I was like, right, that's it. So I was like, sat at home, messaging him on Instagram. Obviously, it's a work one. I was like, hi, I've been recommended. I was a little bit out of my comfort zone. I was texting someone I just didn't know. And I was like, no, I'm just going to go with it. And at the time, we must have been in another lockdown because I was like, I don't know if you're working or not. And he was like, no, we're still working, just the gym's closed. So I like popped up to Winslow on my own, and the gym was like tea. And as soon as I met him, I was like, no, I know he's like fantastic. Like, don't get me wrong, he's an amazing physio. But the way he was straight away, he was like, don't worry, you will get better. Like, I used to be like, am I going to be stuck like this because I can't cope? And he was like, you won't be stuck like this forever. It's not going to be the be all and end all. But he was so straight with me. He was like, it's not straightforward when the scan's clear. It's not going to be like, he was never like, right, 6 months, I'll have you swimming, I'll have you running. He was like, it's not going to be straightforward, but we will get there, but we have to look at every avenue. He even said, he was like, we have to look at you. He was like, I'll get someone to look at your MRI because the readings might not be accurate. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't even think that could be a possibility. He was like, no, it is, but I'm not saying that that's the case. Like, he never gave me false hope. He was like, we just need to look through everything. He was like, also, even if you do have something on a scan, he was like, we'll get another one sorted for you. But even if you do have something on a scan, you can rehab it. But obviously, a year and a half later, it's, you can cause, yeah. I could have been causing more damage and not knowing. Straight away, I remember he was like, right, this is the rehab we're going to do. He was like, don't bend your knee more than 90 degrees because if it is torn, which it sounds like it. I have the same thing. Yeah, he was like,
nothing past 90.
Yeah, he was like, don't bend it more than 90. I went, oh, great. And I went, well, the NHS physio had me holding me, like me toes and pulling it, like a hamstring stretching.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would be in agony. And he was just like shaking his head. I was literally telling them, feel like it's ripped inside. He was like, it's all right. You just need to stretch your muscle. And he was like, yeah, no, that's the worst thing you could do.
Sometimes don't you? And you just need to go and get an actual specialist, because I feel like the people at the NHS, they are good at what they do in broad terms of things, but sometimes you need the specialty behind it as well. Yeah. And I think the NHS are a little bit too broad in the way they're trained, and with things like the knee, there's so much stuff inside that can go on, and having someone like Andy who's rehabbed God knows how many ACLs, he's the guy to go to.
Yeah, no, he's like, he knows exactly what he's talking about, and he's got the experience. Because it was like, have you, like, because when I'm talking to people in this field, I'm like, oh, have you seen this before? They're like, no. It can't be anything if the scan's clear. And I was like, right. But Andy was like, no, I've seen it before. It won't be straightforward. We need a second opinion, which we did. I did go private to a knee surgeon. Like, we even looked at blood works to see if I was deficient in something. But I was like, it's not that. But at the time, I'm sure we were in another lockdown, and I just didn't really get anywhere, and I didn't really feel like, because the scan was clear again, I didn't really feel like I was getting anywhere with the knee surgeon. So the worst decision I could have ever made. I went back through the NHS thinking that it might be different, and I remember I had to literally stand in my doctor's and beg to get an in-face appointment because they just wouldn't.
Probably
They
had
were
enough of seeing you.
like, honest to God, literally, they must see my name and go, oh, is it her again about that knee?
There's nothing up with it.
There's nothing wrong with your knee.
Proper hypochondriac.
Oh, don't. There was once, and like, I think this was the time that I might have gone in because they wouldn't refer me. You can't refer yourself to a knee surgeon, so I was like, I need to see it. And there was one like GP on the phone, and she was like, can you explain like what's happened again? So I explain it again, and she was like, well, the only thing we could really go through now is like mental health. Like, do you think you've maybe got PTSD? And like you obviously remembering it, and I was like, no. Like, no.
It's not that traumatic, was it, really, how it happened?
I was like, I literally walk, my leg gets locked, I click it in and out, and then I'm in agony for the rest of the day. And this happens every day in my life. That's not PTSD. I don't like start thinking about what's happened. And I was like, I could openly talk about what's happened. It didn't, it was just an accident. I'm not like traumatized by that. Like it was an accident. And then I finally seen someone. Even then, I remember showing this doctor a video of my knee, and I was like, because obviously it might not click at the time, and I showed him it, and he went, "Oh, is that before you go for a run?" I went, "No, I'm not running. Like if I ran, I think my knee, walk. I could just about walk." I said, "If I stand in a queue, I'll start panicking because I can't put weight through my leg."
I remember you saying about that actually.
It's honestly the thought of like standing in a queue in a shop would like put me in like panic because I'd start thinking, oh, I'm making something worse now. Like it's gonna. I used to think my knee's gonna like just give way one day and gone.
Yeah.
And then it was Christmas time of 2021, and I was just having a bad time. I just was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't function. I was dragging my leg in the pool in work. I was in agony. I wouldn't do anything socialising. I couldn't think of anything worse. I just could just about hold myself together. And I remember like New Year's Eve, and I was like, I've got to change something next year. Like, not that I hadn't been trying already. Like, I've been trying all these things, but this is really not working out. So I was waiting for an appointment with like a knee surgeon in the NHS, and I was like, I need to give my job up. Like, I can't function like this anymore. And that's it. Like, it gave me notice in, which I was literally distraught about at the time, which brought like a whole array of emotions. Because the worst, like, I was just about holding myself together. The worst thing, people be like, oh, what are you going to do now then? What's your plans? What are you going to do after this? And I'm thinking, please, not today. Like, I'm just holding myself together. And it was the week I was leaving work, I got this appointment with a knee surgeon. I took a picture of my necklace. I was like, manifesting, it's all working out for me. And it was like completely the opposite. I took my mum in with me. He was like, I would never operate on you. There's nothing wrong with you. And the final conversation was, he basically said, I was like, this is like ruining my life without being dead, like down and depressed. And like, this is ruining my life. Like, I've given my job up. Like, I'm in agony. I can't even function day to day. Like, you can't walk day to day with agony in your knee constantly. And he went, oh, well, if I was you, I would just take antidepressants and have a steroid injection if you want to enjoy your life.
It is mad how easily antidepressants are handed out by the NHS.
I was literally distraught. Like, don't get me wrong, I was low, but if my knee was clicked, I'd have been in a 110% better place. And I was just like, I couldn't even believe he said that was it. I remember him going, so how did you get here today? And I said, oh, my mum's drove, but I do drive. Like, long drives, my knee will kill, but I've got to get on with it. And he went, oh, so you've managed to walk in today? I went, well, yeah, I'm not going to crawl on, like, but it doesn't mean that just because I'm walking doesn't mean that I'm not in pain. Anyway, I got outside the door, literally having like a nervous breakdown to me mum. I'm like sobbing. I was like, I can't live like this anymore. She's like pulled me to the side, and I'll remember this to the day. And don't get me wrong, I was distraught at this point. I was thinking, am I ever like, this was like, I've waited so long for this, and in a way I'm like, I'm desperate at this point. Like, I've like clung on, which you shouldn't be like that, but I was like praying that this was going to work out, and when it's not, I've not gone, oh, it is what it is. I've literally hit rock bottom because I was so desperate, And my mum like pulls me to the side in St Helens Hospital. I'll remember this today, and I'm like hyperventilating through the waiting room, and everyone's staring at me. I'm that person, and she gets hold of me and she goes, "Get a fucking grip of yourself." And I was like that, like hyperventilating. I've cried all the way to the car to the car park, and we were outside, and there's like a fruit and veg bit, and she went, she's sick of me at this point. I'm like crying, and she went, "Do you want some pink lady apples?" And the woman's looking behind the stall. I was like that, yeah. And she gets them and we get in the car, and I think I cried all night, because I'd like, honestly, I look back
Just
now,
all
it
built
wasn't,
up.
honestly, like, me mum's dead, like, no, that's it, get on with it. And I think, like, when we'd spoken, we didn't really at the time, I went home and cried all night, but when we'd spoke afterwards, even she was, like, completely shocked. I remember her saying, like, you know, my daughter's 21 and you're saying to just do this, like, that was it. He was like, oh, it's just have an ultrasound and you could get this, like, guided steroid injection. And the appointment came through, and I was like, I'll go for the ultrasound, because obviously I've not had one of them yet. Obviously MRIs are far more than an ultrasound, but I was like, you know what, I'm open for it. I've got the appointment. And this was about 2 months later, and we went, and the woman like ultrasound my knee to have this injection, which I obviously had said as soon as I went in, I went, I'm not having the injection, but I want an ultrasound. And she said, oh, she was reading like the notes off the knee surgeon. He said, oh, you've just got fluid on your knee. I went, I've not. I said, you can ultrasound both my knees. I said there could be swelling because it gets sore, but I said, there's no fluid on that knee. I said, I know it's ripped inside. Ultrasound my knees, nothing there. And I said, well, there's no way, I'm not having this injection. And my mum was like, will you just like have it just to like help you? And I was like, no. But she wasn't in the sense of like not saying that there was something wrong, but just like, can you just have it so you know, like you leave the house day to day? Because at this point I've given my job up, and I was like, I'm not having. I was sitting there, I was going, I'm getting a knee op, and she was like, she just couldn't be bothered with me, because she was like, you've literally been told by 3 knee surgeons, like it's a no. I was like, I don't know how, but I'm getting a knee op. I know I'm getting a knee op. Yeah, that was that. And then to be fair, it wasn't really a good time. I'd left my job, and I was like beside myself. Even a couple of weeks after I'd left, I thought, oh, I'll be back next week. Because the pain, nothing had changed in my life. And I was like, no, I've actually given this up. Like, I cannot believe. And like, what came, I was like, obviously not in routine. Really no purpose, to be honest. Didn't really like if someone said to me now, oh, you've got a month off, I'd think, oh, you know, I'd miss the kids, but I'd enjoy the time. I'd have loads planned. Honestly, the next month of my life was a complete blur. Like, I just would sit in my room and cry. I know it sounds like dead. It is a bit depressing, like, but I was just in agony. It's not like I woke up and like, oh yeah, let's go for a walk and go to the gym. I'd just been in pain constantly. I'd have like a lack of probably like patience as well. I remember like even just standing making like, I'd make my ginger shots in the kitchen. I'd pull a chair in just to put my knee on, because I wouldn't be able to stand up, which is hard to comprehend now, but at the time, like, that was literally my reality.
I imagine it's hard as well, like when you obviously know your body better than anyone else, getting told by 3 different people that there's nothing wrong when you know personally there is. So like going through that whole process then, how has that affected you mentally, and how has it sort of carried on through to sort of now? How has your mentality around injuries and stuff changed?
I think I know myself so well, and I think I'd always come out of these like appointments and off the phone, and I'd maybe get upset because initially I've not been told what I want. I want someone to go, you know what, yeah, let's give it a try, let's try this. And then afterwards I'd be like, no, I know I'm right. Like, I just need to I need to stay in this mindset that I know there's something wrong. But now, like, I just know to like trust my intuition so much, because obviously in the end, which was actually, I had this appointment exactly 6 months, which is just a coincidence, afterwards. And he was like, I'll take a chance on you, like, we'll go with it. But he was like, it might not. You know, when you wake up, you'll know. And then when I come and see you later on, we'll know if we've done what we've said we're going to do. But I remember, like, when I woke up and, like, I felt that leg brace. I've never felt a feeling like it in my life. You're out of it because of the, like, being asleep. But I remember I just was, like, crying, like, the relief I felt. And I was, like, I knew I was always right. Like, I wasn't going mad. And then I feel like the confidence that gives you, that, like, you know, I was always right. It wasn't like a bitter feeling like, I told you so. It was more of like, just I felt like the relief come off my shoulders of like, I've not been going mad for the past 3-4 years of my life. Like, it's finally, I'm finally moving on. And I think it's given me like an unwavering self-doubt that like you always know what's best for you. If you are really in tune with yourself, like I knew what's best for me. I used to tell these people, but then I'd think, God, these are doctors and stuff, and I'm going against what they're saying. But then I'd think, no, like I know I'm right. But at the same time, it's only hindsight that I realise now, I know I really was always right. But I couldn't say like I didn't come away a little bit disheartened, because I would, because you are sat there in front of knee surgeons and they're saying, no, it's not that. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe it would make me overthink everything. My head would fall off. I'd think, oh, maybe I am wrong, but now, like, yeah, there's no way not that I'm always right, because I'm not always right. But majority of the time, I'm quite wise.
You are, to be fair, from
Very
conversations
wise.
that
I'm a
we've
wise
had.
owl.
You are. But in terms of like other injuries, then have you had like what's your mentality and how do you react now to injuries? Because for me, like obviously I've had knee problems now since I was
Yeah.
20, and I'm coming up to 29 in March. So I've had 9 years of this knee
You'll get there,
injury.
George.
One day, yeah. I'm actually getting referred for an MRI. I've got a call on Friday,
Oh,
so
God.
another MRI. We'll see what the crack is. But
Oh.
for me now, there's nothing really you can do with it. So like it's like it is what it is. Like the injuries happened. Like it still annoys me, but it used to, when it first happened, it got me quite down, because obviously I can't play football, I can't go and do certain things at the gym. And then even like you were saying before, just going for a walk, it could be a bit of pain. But for now, whenever I get injured, it is what it is. It's happened, and then it's dealing with the controllables. So I was just wondering, do you have any sort of ways that you mentally get around any injuries now, if you've had any? Hopefully not.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I've had the odd niggle here and there. Like I did like me hamstring a little bit, and obviously like I seen Andy about it, and he had like a bit of a problem with me neck. Seen Andy, and he's just like brilliant, and he's really good with me in the sense of like I can be like, oh, I feel like I'm overthinking it a little bit, because in ways I had to overthink. Like I couldn't just say, oh, okay, then that's it. I'll just settle with this knee pain for the rest of my life. I had to think like, oh, well, maybe not. But switching that off was very hard, because like I used to like have a lack of trust in people and think, maybe they're not right, or maybe this is going to be worse. Like, I remember my hamstring, I was thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna have to get like an op, like, oh my God. And it's not that, but naturally my mind is like set to like not run, but it's like train himself to know like, no, this is just a niggle. Like what you've had like the worst at the start. So any little things now, like, take a step back. Like I'll always like take a step back. Let's evaluate the situation. I always say like, if there's something I'm thinking, oh my God, I think, right, what can I control right now? If I can't control anything, then I can't lose like today's peace over it. Either book the appointment, rest, see how I feel, go to the gym, do like whatever exercises, and just see how it is. But that's definitely something that, right, you'll laugh at this. And this, it wasn't far after my knee, my little toe was killing. This is not too funny. Probably about 6 months after my knee op. And this shows, I'm not one to say like how things are stored in your body and like trauma and things like that. And I don't like to say, oh, I'm traumatized or anything like that. But I'd gone out with Sadie and my toe was killing. And I could feel myself starting to panic, thinking like, have I done something wrong? Like, what have I done? Like, do I need to go to the doctors? Like, and like I could feel like probably like what I felt, which was day-to-day normal for years. And like I had to get to pull over the car, and I had to get out because I was probably having a panic attack. I know that sounds so daft, over a toe. It's ridiculous. Like I look back now and I think, what was up with me? But it's the same feeling of like, oh my God, my mind had just run. But it was like exactly how I used to feel all the time. Whereas now I was like, right. And then I realised, not that I'm not like healed, but I need to like, that's not normal. Like I would never feel like that now. And I thought, right, I need to like take a step back and like, yeah, okay, my knee might be better, but obviously I'm still keeping the same like things to do, but that's not normal. I need to like reel it in now and like actually like, I don't know what the word is, you know what I mean? Like it's obviously
Just
like
rationalise things.
it's the way that like I've always thought, not the worst case scenario, but like I'd always thought like, I don't know. And now like over something so silly, I've like, my mind's gone 0 to 100.
Yeah. So it's just like rationalising it then.
Yeah, it's always like, it's obviously what I'm used to, but it's not normal. Just because I've been like that in the past doesn't mean that like I can go, oh well, when I get an injury I panic. no, I need to take a step back because I can't live like, I understand that I can't live every time I feel a niggle go, oh my God, that's it. I'm going to have this for years. Like, it's never going to get better. I need to like know that I'm actually safe now. Like, so just take a step back and evaluate the situation. Is my toe going to fall off? Probably not now. So just calm down. Yeah, but say to me, mate was like, it's just your toe. And I was like literally couldn't even breathe. And I was like, what's up with me?
Tell you what, toes can hurt. I passed out over one. So I was playing football,
That was me.
cleared the football, and as the lads came in to block it, I've booted his studs. So then it's been killing all afternoon. I've gone to bed and I'm not even lying. My big toe was throbbing. And I've got up to go to the toilet in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep. And I passed out at the top of the stairs. Luckily, fell straight down, like collapsed downwards instead of forwards. Otherwise, I would have been straight down a flight of stairs. It was that painful. I just completely blacked out. I was walking back from the toilet and I was thinking the whole time, my foot's killing. I literally came out of the toilet and just dropped to the floor. And then I woke up and I was like, whoa, what's just happened?
Oh my God. No, I've never done that. Not yet.
Toes can be painful. Oh, and then off the back of that, I went to the walk-in centre, sat in there for about 3 hours, x-rayed it, the wrong side of my foot, and they just told me it was bruising and to have some paracetamol. I've still got issues with it today. That was, I reckon, about 7 years ago, maybe.
I went to the walk-in over my knee, and it must have been there at the start, and I walk in, sit down, and like you get triaged with like a nurse, and then if they think they'll go refer you to a doctor. Sat down, and then she was like, oh, will you stand up for me? And she went, oh, it's just because you've got a pair of sliders on, that's all.
I remember you saying that.
You just need to wear a pair of trainers and do some leg press. I was like, oh,
That's
you know what? I was like, I don't know, like it really, something doesn't feel right on the inside. She was like, no, honestly. And I was like, would I be able to see a doctor? I wouldn't be able to, love, because you just need a pair of trainers. I was like, I don't. And I remember like biting my tongue and I thought, you know what? I'm not even entertaining this. Okay.
Yeah,
she weren't right, like, but you know, you move.
It's like you're saying, though, like if you don't think there's something right and you're getting the wrong advice, then it is important to speak up and either get seen again and persevere with it. But sort of rounding the knee stuff off, would you take your knee injury back if you could?
The very big question, George. Would I take it back?
Would you take all the growth
I'll be honest with
in terms of dealing with injuries and stuff? Or would you take it back?
Be honest, no. No, like my 21-year-old self would be like, no, please, I wish this had never happened to me. Which I would definitely would have been like that. But then definitely before me op, I was like, I learned to realise, someone taught me, they were like, you've never accepted any of this, which is true. Like, you know, if someone says, oh, this is it, I can't. No, I literally, unless you're seeing me getting better, I don't want you in my life. I don't want nothing to do with you. I've got to see it from me. Like, I literally, if someone, oh, well, are you going to change your job if your knee never gets better? I'd be like, oh my God, no. I'd be like, I can't. And like, it made me realise, they were like, oh, you never accepted it. You've never accepted it. And I was like, I know. And then it made me realise, like, I have never accepted this. Like, I won't come to terms with probably this is actually my reality, which is something that I've realised so much, that when like we actually accept things, it's not to say that like, oh, this is it, I'm always going to be that person with the bad knee, I'm always going to have to miss things that I want to do because of it. It's not that. But as soon as you accept it, you acknowledge where you're actually at this moment in time, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be there forever. But when you don't accept it, I feel like you're not at peace with it. So like before me op, I tried to get myself in like the best frame of mind possible, because I did have the fact of like I could wake up and, you know, I always said, if I wake up and you've not fixed it, that's fine, but like
you
need to tell me, and then you need to leave me for a few hours, because I will need some time to like somehow confer what I'm going to do, like the next thing. But would I take it back? No, I wouldn't, because you can't like live in the past. Like, what's happened, but as soon as you're like at peace with it, you can just move forward. And I wouldn't be the person that I am today without it. And I'm not saying there's not been times that I've not thought like, oh God, I wish. But even when I started to go and see Andy, I remember I was like, you know, I know this will be the best thing that happens to me, but I just need to try and get through it. So yeah, no, I wouldn't take it back, because I wouldn't be the person. I don't think you can't change the past, but you can change the future. No, I wouldn't take it back.
I'll be honest, I'd probably take mine back just because of how long it's been going on.
Mm,
Not necessarily for like, because obviously everything's led to this point. Everything that's happened has got me to where I am now. But from a point of just annoyance and stuff like that, but even since I fully tore it, that's now been 6 years, and I was originally told, so I went for my consultation, they did all the laxity tests and stuff. The guy said, 95% sure you've not done your ACL. I was like, brilliant. He
hmm.
said, we're going to put you in for an MRI anyway. Came back from the MRI, fully ruptured ACL, tear my meniscus, a couple of other
Oh
bits.
my God.
I was sat there going, what? Yeah, I was like, you
It's,
said you
oh
were
my God.
95% sure. And he was like, well, basically, if you look at your scan, he was like, you've got pretty big hamstrings, so they're acting
If I
as an
compensated
ACL.
for it.
Yeah,
Mm,
because I was walking again perfectly
yeah.
within a week. Like, barely any pain. Literally tore my ACL. Played 90 minutes of football on it. It had blown up. And then, literally a week later, I was walking fine. It was so
It's
weird.
mad, isn't it?
But,
They're so complicated knees though, aren't they? I didn't really have I'd never actually, I'd always done sport, but I'd never injured myself before this. So I was clueless, didn't really have anyone in the family or like it's more, I'm not saying it's stereotypical, but like there's a lot of boys that hurt themselves with like football and things like that. Like I'd know people that have done stuff, but like girls and stuff, I didn't know anyone really. Didn't have any close friends that had been through anything like this.
yeah, it is a very tricky field, the knee. Lots going on. But,
It's not one I wish to enter anytime soon again, please.
no, well, I still feel like I'm in the middle of it, but hey ho.
You'll get through it. You'll get through it.
Moving slightly away from the knee then. Well, obviously you've said you had to persevere quite a lot with going to different people. How has it changed your view of the NHS and sort of Western medicine in general?
I'm 24 now and I got it at 18 and it was like 20, got to see Andy at 20. And as soon as I seen Andy, it was like a breath of like fresh air. I'd never come across, obviously I'd not been going through it that long, but I was like, God, like this is like this is a different world. It's like, it's not just like, oh, well, that's that. And he was the first person that was like, don't, I remember him saying, he was like, it doesn't about the scan. He was like, obviously we do the scans and we look at all different things, but he said, we treat the patient, not the scan. Now, if I said that to anyone in the NHS, they'd have probably started laughing at me. And he was the first person that kind of like said that to me, but there's been like other aspects, that I've had with like the NHS, to be honest. And it's just a case of like, yeah, well, that's it. And when you start asking the questions of why, it's like, oh, well, it just is. That's just the way it is. But
Yeah.
you can't give me an answer. And like, I need to know exactly why something's happened. And if you can't tell me, then I don't really have that trust.
Yeah, like I was saying before, I think NHS doctors are very sort of broadly trained and not in specific fields. Whereas, like for me, I've gone to Bupa for a few different things now, like my knee, my foot, and you get a specialist that is sort of trained in that specific field. So they know a lot more in-depth details on how to deal with things and how to recover from them. Whereas I think, like I say, the NHS is very, very broad, and it
Yeah.
works for most things that aren't necessarily too specific. But when it comes to things like knees, like we were saying, very complicated. It's best to go and see a specialist.
Yeah, I feel like I mean, don't get me wrong, and this is not to bash any like nurses, doctors, or anything like
No,
that,
no.
not at all, whatsoever. But I just think how the NHS is like ran, like for me, if I look back now, I needed 2 MRIs, I didn't need any more. I needed to see a knee surgeon. They needed to see that I'd done physio. And then if that hadn't worked, I'd do an op. But it dragged on for absolutely
Yeah.
years to the point of you told me to take antidepressants. Do you think I'd have been in any sort of better mindset on them? Absolutely not. Like, there's no way. Like, I know for a fact. And it's not to say that, like, at the time I wasn't in the best minds. I wasn't. But, like, I knew in my heart, like, that is not going to fix any sort of problem at all. Like, you could slap money, you could slap anything material in front of me, and I wasn't happy. I even remember, like, being on holiday with my best friends, and I'd still be crying on holiday because I'd be in agony. So you could take me anywhere in the world, and I still wasn't happy. Like, when you've got like ill health problems, but just with the system, I just found it was just, I couldn't comprehend that like I was a genuine person sat there like begging for help, and you will not help me. And because it was like, there was like a system. They were like, no, your scan's clear, so we just can't click that next button. And I'm like, well, you need to go beyond the scan when I'm telling you. But it just fell on deaf ears. But luckily, I am so lucky I went private and did get taken seriously. But obviously, it did take going back twice. I'm just so lucky. The surgeon that I had he actually had a girl. I remember because I went in with my mum and dad, and he said, he was like, obviously, I think it's this, I think it's that. But he said, I've had a girl with a very similar situation to you, and she was 15, and her mum and dad had asked for a second opinion because the NHS wanted to put a spinal blocker so she couldn't feel like below the knee because her knee pain was that bad. But obviously she must have been going to school, like carrying on with life, and they were like, there's no way. It worse. They were like, there's no way we're doing that, but the NHS wouldn't operate. So they went to this knee surgeon and they operated, fixed it, and she cracked on. And obviously I was the same. I mean, we didn't get to like below the knee, but which I just couldn't believe. That was crazy.
Yeah, those solutions just seem like putting plasters on very big issues. Like I was saying earlier about the NHS just giving antidepressants out like the sweets instead of dealing with the root problem. Like I feel like no offence to anyone that's on them or anything like that, but I feel like they are given out far too easily instead of addressing what the reason is for them being depressed in the first place.
Yeah,
and then
no, like
you get given this little pill of like a false sense of happiness, really.
Yeah, like I don't get me wrong, I don't like, not that I don't speak about it, but I never like, when I look back, if you said to me when I left work and like I'd like nothing getting me out of bed, I'd literally just sit in my room and cry. Was I depressed? Yeah, I was. Like I had no purpose in life. I was in agony. I'd completely withdrawn socially. Like I'd see like probably two of my mates and that was it. Even then, I don't think I was probably the best of like companies to be with, but I wouldn't like. I knew I was depressed because of the situation that I was in. I'm not a depressed person. Like something could go wrong in my life now. I don't go, oh, I'm depressed over it. I don't. Like I just get on with it. But in the situation I was, but I knew like taking a pill, I'd probably still be depressed because my knee wasn't right.
That's
so
it.
I was like, there's no way I'm going down that route because I am getting this knee fixed. But at the same time, like I don't even look back and think, oh, I shouldn't have. I couldn't even function and like I couldn't cope with dragging my leg anymore. Like, so I did have to take a step back and like give my job up and give up things that like gave me a little bit of happiness. I'm not like short term. I have to think long term. I knew like I'd be able to get back to it, but I needed to take a step back on life. But it's lucky I'm in the position to do that because I always say like if I had children or I had my own house, I'd have had to have took these things because I'd have had to have gotten up every day and had responsibilities for other people. So it's not just about injuries. Like just with the NHS in general, they don't get to the root cause of problems. They just go, oh well, try this, try that. Obviously, I know it's understaffed and stuff, so the waiting like lists are a lot longer. But some people get themselves in such big holes when it could have been something small that just needed like a little bit of help with, and then all of a sudden like they're on there.
Sometimes it is just taking the rough with the smooth. Like I've got literally just behind my camera, there's like a framed, it's quite funny actually. A few times on my story, I was like taking the mick, putting the Ronan Keating song Life as a Roller Coaster on. Basically about taking the rough with the smooth. And it's literally just behind, it was a gift when I moved out of basically the lyrics of that song around like a vinyl.
Oh.
And it is just taking the rough with the smooth. Sometimes you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs in life. And just because you're down doesn't mean you've got to take some antidepressants to give you that false sense of happiness. Sometimes you have just got to deal with it and live through it.
Oh yeah, like something like obviously like I said about accepting something, like the best thing I learned was like accepting, like, okay, embrace, like, yeah, you have given up your job because of the position you're in. There's no point in trying to like put that at the back of your minds because that's actually your, like, when you don't accept your reality, you're just not accepting the position that you're in. As soon as I was like, you know what, yeah, this is it, like, I'm not happy with it, but I know I'm going to get myself into a position, but as soon as you realise, like, no one's going to help you but yourself. Like, if you can't help yourself, no one's going to help you. No one could say something to me to make me feel better apart from myself. So I was like, I need to do this for myself.
Yeah,
and I did.
Definitely.
And you would.
Well done. So without going to conspiracy theory, I know you're into all your sort of health and well-being and stuff.
We love a conspiracy.
Do you think Western medicine and just sort of modern medicine in general is out there to almost keep you sick as like a long-term customer?
110%. Like, I'm not saying that, like, oh, that's it, I'm never stepping foot in the doctors again, which I would avoid it like the plague, but um, no,
Bit
literally,
contradictory of a
I would
statement.
literally avoid it like the plague, quite literally. But I do, I think it's just, there's just like a sticking plaster to everything. Um, I don't think they just don't get to the root cause of problems whatsoever. They they just like they do this, they do that. Like for example, like my skin basically. At 15, I got put on the pill for my skin, and the worst thing I could ever have done. Wish I'd never have done it, but I didn't know any better at the time. And I remember, so I can't. It was like 10 years ago now, so I can't remember exactly. But I remember I'd been on like antibiotics for my skin. God knows how many courses. I don't even want to think about what the damage it did to me gut. But going on the pill, it was a private dermatologist. There was no blood works. There was no intolerance tests. There was no talks about diet. There was no talks really about what skincare we used. There was no testing hormones. Nothing. It was like, go on the pill
Just
and it'll
straight on the
fix you.
bill.
Straight on the pill, it'll fix your skin. It was that or Roaccutane. And remember, I knew I'd heard things, it was quite strong, so I didn't really. And it makes your skin really dry, and especially with swimming. I didn't want to
Yeah,
do
with
that
the
because I knew it
chlorine
would
as
be,
well.
I knew it would not be good for me. And I went on the pill, and 15, I had a breast abscess that had to get removed, which I asked the surgeon, why has this happened? It just happens. Oh, right. You'll just be prone to them. That was his exact words. You will just be prone to abscesses. I said, I was 15, so I didn't really know anything better. I was just like, oh, okay. He was right. I was prone to abscesses every year. I'd have an abscess. I'd have to take antibiotics. It would go. I'd have tonsillitis. Always run down. Always sick. My skin did go like really well, and then it was actually when I was 21 and I was sat in A&E on this strip, another abscess, and I just sat there and I was just like, you know what, like I've completely like I've had enough about me knee, like we're at breaking point over this at this point, and I was like, you know what, I remember she like the doctor that was treating me, she was like, I can cut the abscess out, whatever, but you obviously, I was like, I can't. I've just got back to work. Like, I don't want to ring in sick for 2 weeks. That was my main focus. I was like, I can't ring in sick to work for 2 weeks. Like, I really want to be back with the kids. And I was like, oh, I'll take the antibiotics. And I was like, I don't understand why I'm getting this. And she was like, oh, you just will. And I think I actually asked her, I was like, I'm on the pill for my skin. I don't want to come off it because I don't want my skin to go bad. But also, like, do you think could this be linked? And she was like, oh, I don't know. Okay. So this is
Nice
like a
one.
very qualified doctor because obviously it's not in the textbook. Oh, I don't know. And I was like, right. And it was like about a month or two later, I was like, this is it now. I came off the pill. I like probably took ownership for my own health because obviously I keep asking these doctors, why do I keep getting this? And it's like, oh, well, you'll just keep getting them. But that's not normal. Like, I'm a healthy person. Like,
Yeah.
why do I keep getting sick?
It's not
Why am I
something you want to be dealing with, is it?
exactly? And it started like, I was like, well, that deep into the rabbit hole. I was like, I don't even want to be taking antibiotics, but obviously I don't know how else to like treat this. Like, I don't understand. So I came off the pill. The bad skin came back. Not horrific, but it did a little bit. Um, I went down the rabbit hole of just like everything, and like that was it. I'd had side effects off the antibiotics, which I haven't before, but I did this time, and that was like the icing on the cake. I just thought, you know what, there's no way. That's it. I'm done. I'm done with how the NHS go about things. Like, it's completely not what I agree with anymore. They're not getting to the root cause of my knee, my skin, these abscesses, constantly being sick. And I came off the pill, and I did like a lot of research about it. And I realised like I'd been quite anxious through me teens, but anxious of like silly situations, like overthinking and like panicking about stuff that didn't need to be panicked about. And I realised like when you take the pill, it takes away like your cortisol levels, so which is your
Right.
fight or flight. So basically like the way like you'd react to something, I've literally took that ability away.
Yeah.
So like naturally you'd make, oh, do this or do that. It's like taking your instinct away basically. I was like, I can't believe I've even been on this for like 5, 6 years. So I came off it and I felt like, I'm not gonna lie, I felt like a doolally a little bit. But then if you've been taking like a synthetic hormone for so many years, your body's straight away like, well, what's going on? But I just thought, no, I've got to like, and my skin was going a bit bad. I was like, no, I've made my decision. I've made my bed. I'm going to lie in it. Like I've said, I don't agree with like the Western medicine and how it treats it. So that's it. And my skin did get quite bad. Like I have got a couple of pictures, but I've never been brave enough to show them. But I learned how much like your mind, like what your mind suppresses, your body will express. It's a little bit like when people have like eczema or psoriasis and they go, oh, it comes out when I get dead stressed. Because your body will, your body's showing, it's like your skin's your biggest organ, it comes out in your skin. So like when I'd left work, I have pictures and like my skin's all, my skin, it's like, it's just like a rash of spots. It was all down my back, on my legs. And I was like, at this point, I was like, there's no way I'm going to the doctors over it. Even though like naturally in society we're taught, oh, we'll go to the doctors and they'll give you a pill. I thought, no, like I've completely 360'd my mind about like Western medicine. I don't agree with it. And if I don't agree with something, that's it. Like I'm very like a bit stubborn. I won't go back on it. So then that's when I like full force went into like reading about probiotics, like how bad the pill actually is on you, like natural remedies to actually treat your skin. I was like drinking like celery juice all the time. I got into making like my ginger shots, which I still do, which I'm obsessed. And I just was like, woke up that like the world's a lie. I know that's quite deep, but when you start realising it, I was like, I can't believe we live in a society that like just wants you sick. And yeah, we could go all day down the rabbit hole.
And you said you went into conspiracies as well. But but I think, yeah, like you're saying, you got put on the pill at 15. To be honest, I've never heard of anyone go on it for skin. Obviously, I'm a lad anyway, so I'm not really involved in that side of things anyway. But I think it does seem to be just a very common thing that once girls sort of hit that 15, 16, you automatically just go onto the pill. And like you say, it is a synthetic hormone. And then when you've came off it, you said you were feeling a bit weird, but you've obviously got that flush of hormones that haven't been there for that long. And then your body's sort of getting used to how to deal with them.
Yeah, and never that. Like, obviously, I mean, I wouldn't take back the knee, but like, with regards to the pill, you can't go back in the past. But would I have never gone on it? Yeah, definitely, like, never have gone on it because I don't like to think of the damage that I did do going on it at such a young age. Because at 15, I'm not even fully developed. Like, my hormones are still going through. So I've, like, stopped my natural development. And I'm so into, like, being in touch with yourself and, like, knowing yourself. And I do think, like, oh, but I can't dwell on the things of what I've done. Like, it is what it is. I've learned from my mistakes. But it's frightening to think that a dermatologist that was privately paid for, with the best thing to do for my skin was to go on the pill. And I always say, like, the pill, and this is a little bit more like, you don't really get much for free. All the pill's free. Wouldn't even question it. It does make you wonder, like, do they actually, I know obviously it's used for, like, obviously contraception, but with it being so broadly used for, like, obviously girls that have problems with the periods and things like that, straight away, go on the pill, go on the pill. It's just a stick and plaster. It's not getting to any of the root cause reasons. And the detriment to that is, at some point, like, obviously not everyone may want to, but when you come off that pill, or you know, you want to start your own family, or you want children or whatever, you're still going to have that same problem. And instead of, like, taking years to, like, get to the root cause reasons and figure your own body out and know yourself, you might struggle to, you know, like, get pregnant and stuff. And that's, like, you know, obviously it's not something that I'm thinking about, but, like, I would hate to be in that position where I've just stuck on something for, like, 10 years and then I've come off it and I don't even know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. And the worst thing they do is they go to the doctors for ask for help.
Yeah.
When they've put them in that position anyway.
It's probably because it is something that probably resolves most cases for most people, but then obviously there's people like yourself where it didn't really solve it, and then instead of them taking the time on each individual person, it's probably easier to just slap people straight on the pill, and then it solves the majority of issues in the masses sort of thing.
Yeah, like, it does. It, like, yeah, my skin was great, but the abscesses, the tonsillitis, everything that came with it, the damage that it probably did to, like, me gut and me well-being, definitely not worth it. But then all them problems that came with that, you know, I wonder if we looked at how many antibiotics I was on. You know, it's, then we're talking about, like, big pharma, and they want you on these, like, medicines. They do want you because they want you sick.
Yeah.
We'll skim
So,
over that one.
yeah, we'll not go too deeply into that one. Not on this podcast anyway. We might have to get you back on and do a full conspiracy rundown. But so how's that changed your day-to-day life with the products you use then? Because I know you use some like more natural deodorants and things like that from your
Yeah,
stories. So how's it
Um,
changed?
so probably at this time I started like looking into it, and don't get me wrong, obviously like you can go for facials and like your skincare routine. It can make a massive impact on like the products you put on your face. But I'd actually like probably from not having sensitive skin, but I feel like I damaged like my skin barrier on my face, because I'd got like, I remember being about 15 or 16 and I'd got like creams from the doctors, but they were so harsh on my face that I remember it burned my face. I actually remember my prefect picture in school, and I remember I couldn't put makeup on for it because my skin was that sore. I remember like crying and telling them not to put me on the board, but I remember them taking this picture and they still put me on the board. I was fuming. But anyway, I'd kind of thingied about products then a little bit, but obviously I was too young to understand. And then when I was looking at more like natural things, when I started looking, like your skin is like your biggest organ, so like what you put on your face, it just absorbs. But like we're absorbing like chemicals into our face, like I might. There's no point in looking at that food and going, oh, I wouldn't eat that because it's got this chemicals in it. But then I'm picking up my skincare and it's me like me moisturiser that I'm putting on every day, every night, and it's full of chemicals. So it's obviously not the same thing, but it's on the same level. So you can't like turn a blind eye to one thing and not the other. So then I just started looking at like, it was more when I went down the rabbit hole of it all, I was a bit like, oh my God, like everything's got chemicals in it, everything's bad. And like one of my friends is literally, we were talking about it last night, Caitlin, she was literally the same. And I was like, no, you can't like bin every single product and whatever in your house because you'd make yourself sick, like as in like getting paranoid about it. But it was like the things that you use every day, your deodorant, your toothpaste, your skincare, the essential things that you use every day. There's no reason why you can't. Like my deodorant probably cost me like £4 or £5 for a roll on. And I know Dove is £1 in the shops, but if you can't, I know it's a little bit more money, but you've got to like, I always say like you'd spend like £10 on a cocktail. So you've got to like rationalise like, okay, I might have to spend a little bit more money on fresher food or this different moisturiser and this, but I know over time like it is better for you. It's better for your health. Like, why would you want to be absorbing chemicals in your body? It's so unnatural. The body's always working for you. It's never working against you. So like sometimes like I'm sure I don't really wear it like false tan. My body gets, and I don't really have like sensitive skin on my body, but it gets dead itchy. I've tried different tans and I think no, because it just doesn't want it. I know my body doesn't want it on my skin.
Yeah. Yeah, like all you have to do is look at the back of any of your products that you use and the amount of ingredients on there that you've probably never even heard of before.
It's like
And the
honestly
length of some of the words.
when you start looking, you're like, oh my God, especially with some food, like some of the foods, like obviously, like the things that get put on the shelf and stuff, they'll have like a longer, like let's say for example, like cake. If you make a lemon cake, you'll know exactly what ingredients you've put on it, and it'll have maybe you'll be able to have it for like 5 days until it goes out. That lemon cake's on the shop in Tesco. It'll be sat there, it'll have a good date for like 3 weeks. But if you look at the back of that, the products that they put in it, for that to be able to stay fresh for 3 weeks is not what you want to be absorbing in your body.
Yeah, it can't be good. It can't be good.
And it's not to say that like, that's it, never eat lemon cake again. It's not that, but it's just like being aware of it and knowing that like if there's certain aspects that you can cut out your diet, then great. It's not saying you need to 360 your diet, but just don't try and like where you can and you think, right, I need to eat healthier here, like do it for yourself.
I think, yeah, I don't think you're ever going to be able to avoid it. Like, if you look at a Mackey's, for instance, awful, like what's in it, but you're probably never going to always avoid Mackey's. Like, there's going to be instances where, I don't know, you're on a road trip and you stop off at some services and it's late at night. The only place that is ever open is the Mackey's. So you're going to end up getting a Mackey's.
Well, I mean, lockdown and what was open? Mackey's.
Oh, yeah, all the fast foods,
all the fast foods.
Yeah. Well, I actually got through the post the other day, when they hand leaflets out. I got 3 of the same thing for Mackey's and it was just loads of vouchers for discounts on meals.
Post online, please. I'm only joking. We don't do fast food.
But I think, same. But I think, yeah, if you can have some control over it and make some smarter decisions, otherwise, like you said, you will go crazy trying to control every single aspect. Like, I look at, for instance, like vegans and stuff like that, like their life must be so difficult on a day-to-day
I
basis
don't
trying to
know.
find stuff.
Like, yeah, I don't know how they, like, being a vegan, I just don't know how they do it. I wouldn't know how they do it.
I, well, I
Being able
couldn't
to
do it.
eat things, like, I wouldn't be
I
able to
couldn't
do
do
it.
it.
I
I'm having
actually,
steak for dinner, so
God, I got these steaks from the little girl that I teach. And Nan works in Cronton. There's like a little farm shop in the Unicorn. The steaks.
might have to get some.
Yeah, if no one's tried it out, and we've started actually getting some of our meat from. There's one in Warrington. It's called like Snout Trotters or something along them lines. But they don't do beef, but they do pork, and it's lovely.
Okay.
But the steaks from there, oh my God,
To be honest, I want to start getting, because I get all my meat from Muscle Food, and when you have a look at the parcel, like the packages, it's like Poland and Romania and all
Yeah,
packaged up
it's
stuff. It's not even from the UK, so
yeah,
I'm
no,
looking probably to
it's
move to like a local butcher's or
yeah.
something like that.
It was a dead good price for these fillet steaks. You'll have to
Let's give it a
try.
whirl. I have to have a look. So, going on from that then, you've obviously now started your second Instagram page, Health with Is. What made you start that?
You know what? I'd started like posting a little bit just on like my main Instagram. And my friends were always like, "Oh, you should like make a little Instagram and da 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 da." I was like, "Oh no, like I'm not interested. Like I just enjoy like posting like quotes and stuff." And they were like, "No, but you should make it so like people kind of follow it that are like interested in it. Like, because you'll probably have people on your normal Instagram that are just not interested in the slightest." And I was like, you know what? Yeah, like I'll go for it. And I would probably say that, not that I never like spoke about it, but like I never, like, unless you were close to me life, you probably didn't even know I had an issue with my knee. I wouldn't speak about it. I tried to like pretend it wasn't there. So like when I did start posting about it, like there was quite a few people that would like message and be like, "Oh my God," like there was a lad that I actually knew and he was like, "I'm literally going through the same thing as you. Like I really appreciate when you post stuff like that," because he was literally going through like the same as me. He was like, "I just don't know anyone that's like the same." And I was like, "Oh, see, like if I'd never really like spoke out, and I'm not doing it for like anyone like but myself." But they were like, "Yeah, you should go for it." And I was like, "Oh," and like, you know what? And I really enjoy it. Like, and it definitely keeps me in like the right frame of mind. Not that I feel like I need to post stuff or anything like that. It's just generally like how I live. Like, it's just second nature. I don't like force anything. It's just how I roll type of thing.
Yeah, it's
But
very
yeah, no, I
authentic,
really,
obviously. Like
yeah,
I
well,
know
that's
you
the main
personally as
thing.
well, so it is very you, so to
Very,
speak.
very, very me. And it's practice what you preach as well. Like, yeah, it just puts me in like the right frame of mind, and I like enjoying like because there's the people like I follow. I'm like, oh, I'll try that, or I'll watch this podcast. But yeah, no, I really enjoy it. Keeps me on a high vibration, high frequency, if you know all that.
Well, that brings me on to my next question because
Oh,
I did my Q&A, New Year's Q&A, and you asked a couple of questions, and I gave very, I would say, poor answers.
they were not bad, not too
You
bad. Room for improvement.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're being kind. I completely went off topic, but we won't go there. But yeah, I was going to say, like, explain to me, because you speak quite a lot about it on your Instagram about everything is energy and sort of how that links with the people around you.
Yeah,
So
I do
let's
believe
hear it from you.
so I do believe that everything is energy. So we'll start it off with basically everything's a frequency. So like if you're feeling good, you're up here, you're vibrating, you're high, you're great. And then the low we down, so like you're feeling okay. And then the bottom is like hate, sad, upset. That's like a low energy. And like what you put out there in life comes back to you. Like I do believe like the universe only understands like energy and frequency. So if you keep putting out, for example, like things aren't going great for you, you go, "Oh, nothing's ever working out for me. This always happens for me." The universe goes, "Oh God." And all it does is send more things back to you in that frequency. It's like when someone goes, you might work with people, "Oh, I've had a really bad day. Da, 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 da. And I tell you, they'll go out and they'll have a flat tyre. They'll go, "I knew this had happened for me." And you're like, well, yeah, because you're creating your own reality. Like because I understand that everything's energy. Like if I catch myself like maybe like speaking bad about myself or like just doing stuff that doesn't serve me, I'll go, you know what, this doesn't serve me. I understand how it works. I need to stop this right now and speak a little bit more positive. And it's not that I'm not a believer of like, because people are like, oh, fake positivity. It's not being positive all the time. I don't mind having like a difficult conversation or like looking at something and be like, all right, this is really not working out. But it's like how you deal with that, because everything is energy. So if you want like a different outcome of something, going, oh, nothing ever works out for me. Okay, you are the creator of your own reality. Like what you speak out there comes back to you. So every time you keep speaking out, going, oh, I knew this had happened to me. Okay, it'll happen again to you. But if you go, you know what, maybe this wasn't meant to be. Let's try a different way. Be a little bit more like optimistic. And as soon as you start speaking a bit more, like they say, like your words are your spelling. So like when you put a spell on something, it's like to make it happen. So when you're speaking, you want to think of it as like a spell. So what you speak out there, you'll implement into your life. But yeah, I'm a big believer of like, and it's your energy, it's your aura, it's like what you bring to the table. Something I've really learnt with like me swim teaching and stuff. Like no matter how I'm feeling, when I get in that pool with that kid, that's it. It's not there for me, I'm there for them. Like I need to put my energy high, because if I'm like, oh yeah, do you think the kids are going to be like excited to see? Not really. But as soon as I'm like, right, come on, let's go. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. It doesn't matter if I've had like not the best day. I've like got to really go for it and give all my energy so I can get the best out of them. And you could take that with like any walk of life, but like when you show up, you get the best out of people and the people around you. You know, if you're just like, oh, and it's not to say that you're going to be on like top form all the time, but like something like I always I was speaking to one of my close friends about it the other day. Like it doesn't matter. Like when they're your close friends, like you'll love them at your best and you'll love them at the worst. Like you can't all of a sudden be like, I can't be bothered with them now because they're not high on life. Like I still love them to bits. Like I have that time to be able to say no. Like I still love them. Maybe they're not feeling 100% at the moment, but it doesn't mean like my energy's changed towards them. I don't go, I can't be bothered now, because I know if I value them, they'll be in my life. Like the people that are in my close circle, I always say like, if I like bother with you, I hope you're going to be there in 5 years' time. You want to like grow the connection with them, but if I don't, you won't be there soon.
But
You'll be
it's like
gone.
we were saying before, though, about taking the rough with the smooth. It's the same
Hmm.
with friendships. You can't just take them when they're at their best. That sometimes
No,
things
no,
are going to break
definitely.
down a little bit, and you've just got to just carry on moving.
Yeah, definitely not. But if you know what you've got with someone's good, and you value them in your life, like I always think like I had nothing really to give, and I don't mean like financially. I mean just nothing to give in general. Probably when I was like probably at like some of my lowest, but like I'm so lucky. Like my friends, they didn't like turn their back on me. They didn't go, can't be bothered with her anymore. Like they pick me up at some like the toughest times, and like even if it was just for like a drive, I probably felt a little bit better. I might not have looked like I appreciated it, but I did appreciate it at the time. So it's made me like really value certain things in my life.
We'll clip that bit up and tag them in it so they know, in case they didn't know
Yeah,
that you appreciated
yeah.
it.
I won't shout the names out because the heads will be growing, but they know who they are.
Every time they dropped you off, fucking Izzy, so negative.
She's so bloody depressed over that knee.
There's nothing even up with her. She's been
There's
told
nothing even
three
wrong with that
times
knee. Them doctors are right.
for attention.
No. Honestly, guys, I wasn't. I really wasn't.
But so would you say that links in with the whole thing that you see on Instagram and stuff about manifestation? Then they believe in everything as energy.
Yeah, I feel like you can be on certain frequencies. So there's some things that like happen, like I probably won't really recall them now, but it's things that happen, maybe like certain synchronicities, and you're like, how has that happened? Like that can't be a coincidence. Maybe like you're going on a certain walk, you always go on the certain walk, and then you change something and then you bump into someone that you were thinking about. So for example, it was like this time last year, I went for a walk, and I'd realised that this is quite bizarre, and I'd never planned the appointments. I'm obsessed with the number 6, if you don't know, guys. And I always wear 666 on my necklace. I'm obsessed with it. And I went for this walk, and I'd realised about 2 weeks prior that there had been exactly 6 months between these different appointments. And obviously one didn't go my way and one was like the best day of my life. And it made me realise, like, if someone said to you in exactly 6 months' time, everything's going to work out for you. Like, if a little angel on my head had gone, everything's going to work out for you that day, in 6 months' time, you'll have the best news ever. Would I have spent then probably the next 2 months crying, being upset? Probably not, because it was going to work out for me. But the frequency that I put myself on, I kept probably bringing worse things back into my life. I was in a bad mindset. No one could help me. I was just upset, depressed. But onto the number 6 thing with synchronicities. Obviously, I realised the 6th thing. I was like, that's mad. And I was going through this walk, same walk that I always go on. And as I come round, it was going to the dream. I was like, what's that in the field? It looked like, like a thing off a car, them silver things. I don't know what they're called, like on the wheels. I'm not a car expert. Yeah, maybe that. I don't really know. And I thought, oh, it must be one of them. And as I got closer,
like the plastic bit over
yeah,
it.
like on the outsides. I don't know what they're called. And as I come past, like, I just glanced at it because of like, oh, it's weird that it's got there. And I looked, and it was actually a balloon, like, wedged in the edge, and it was a number 6 balloon. And like, if you're an unbeliever, you'll be like, but what are the chances of that? Like, that's very, like, how is it there? Like, this is a walk that I always come on. I was just like, that is absolutely bizarre. But there's loads of things. Like, I remember, I don't know if it was shortly after that, I was walking through Pexhill, and there was loads of kids out on the mopeds. Not the mopeds, like them dirt bikes. Just trying to not look like I was scared by them, because it was getting a little bit dark. And as I was walking through, there was like probably about 8-10 bikes, and there was loads of kids or whatever. I decided to go like a little bit longer on this walk, so I was going to go home, and I was like, no, you know what, I'll do like another lap. And as I'm walking through, like, sometimes I'll just feel this like intuition to be like, I feel like aligned, and like I like talk to the universe, but I'll try not get too doolally with it. And as I'm walking, there's like these like mopeds coming towards me. None of them have got numbers on the bikes. This one's got 666 on it. And I was just like, that's weird. Like, it's the only one that's got on it. I've like decided to come a certain way. I've just been like having this like thought to myself, and I was like, but I never say like, oh, that's mad, because I understand how it works. Like, because I try and keep on a high vibration, like, the universe sends signals to me, and that's just how it works.
So what's the significance of 666? Because the only thing I've heard about is the devil's number.
It's the devil's number, but it's not the devil's number for me. I was born on the 6th of September, bang on 6 p.m, and I weighed 613. And I do always see, like, 6 will always have a synchronicity in my life.
Number 6 is my lucky number, to be fair.
Is it?
It is.
This is it now, you'll see.
I don't have 3 6s significant in my life, as far as I'm aware, anyway.
Another, you know what, and there was actually quite recently, I just reminded me about synchronicities. I did a meditation course, which was absolutely fantastic, with someone called Martin Bone. He was amazing. And we were having a conversation about, I think we were on about like synchronicities or something. Oh no, we were just talking about life or something. And I literally, my last message I'd sent was like, oh, like, isn't life just like so magical at times? And I'd sent like the magician's wand, which I never use that emoji. And then I decided to walk a bit longer, which I never go down the black path. It's just not on me route. And as I'm walking down, there's a magician's hat on the floor. No word of a lie. And I was just like, And you can't say that that's not a coincidence. Like, I never use that. I wouldn't even speak in the term of magic. And then there's a magician's hat on the floor on a route that I never go down. I had to go down there. Like, I just felt like guided. It's weird.
That is weird.
I know, it's weird, isn't it?
It's almost like, have you ever seen the films Final Destination?
I'm not a film watcher. I'm not even a TV watcher. I watch podcasts. I never watch TV.
I don't watch a lot of TV, but I've seen the Final Destination films, and that's like, it's not the same but similar. It's basically like this person has like a vision of something happening before it happens, and then there's little triggers of things that happen that then like switch it on. Like, one of them, as blunt as it sounds, is before a plane crashed. They were going on like a school trip, and he just got this like intuition to not get on the plane. And then there was like little things, and like everyone thought he was going mad. Next minute the plane crashes. But
it's weird. Like, I do, like, you know what, I found myself saying it the other day. in work, there was this child that hasn't come for months, but he's not on my registers. But, like, he always comes and, like, his dad brings them and he used to bring the old sister. And I was like, he's not been for ages. That's weird. We're talking maybe, like, 3-4 months. And I said his name to the woman. I was like, so weird that he's not been for ages. Monday, this child comes in the mum, but he had his goggles on. I was like, oh, has he been this first time? And he was like, no, he's been before. And then the woman I work with went, that's Ronnie who you said about. And I was like, what? That's so weird. I've not mentioned it for months. And then yesterday, I literally mentioned it. And now he stood there. And there would be no reason for me to know that. And I was like, I must have known. But I must say that about 10 times a day. I must have known. I must have known that was going to happen.
I think you've got some, like, weird magical powers or something.
I have, like, this, someone the other day, I had this little boy and he wouldn't get in the pool. Give it 5 minutes, he was in the pool. And the mother went to, like, my manager and she went, I don't know what witchcraft she's got in her veins, but I don't know how she's managed to do that because he was crying before we'd got into, like, the pool. And now he wants to come back next week. And I went, it's just me energy.
Good teacher.
Yeah, I am. I do. I am a good teacher.
So with all that being said then, do you reckon, like, everything happens for a reason? And on the back of this, can you tell me about your parking fine?
I knew this was coming. Does everything happen for a reason? I do think, yes, in some ways. I think there's some things in life that, like, something, like, something in the past 2 years to me has happened and, like, there's no sort of reasoning in it. I won't go into it too much, but I just can't, you can't make amends with it. Sometimes, like, a loss and, like, a death, I would say, like, you just can't, like, I don't understand why it would happen. Especially with, like, tragedies and stuff, maybe, like, a car crash and things like that, people just being at the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't really see the reason for that happening. But in other aspects of life, on a little bit of a brighter note, I do think, like, things happen the way that they're meant to happen, and we can't play with it too much, because if it wasn't meant to happen, it wouldn't have. If that knee surgeon that didn't want to operate, if he'd opened that door and gone, I'll operate now, I'd have probably been like, oh my God, thank you so much. But then later on, when if it was like waiting for that op, imagine going in somewhere and someone doesn't even believe in you. Like, there's no way. I'd be like, whoa, stop, like, it's not happening. Like, so actually in hindsight, I'm grateful that it didn't happen, but at the time, like, obviously it wasn't.
Yeah, the kids thought it.
Oh yeah, I was like, at the time I wasn't grateful. But then I look back now and I think, yeah, everything does happen for a reason. Every, like, little detour, and I didn't get this and I didn't get that, I wouldn't be like where I am now today without it. I wouldn't be like, I'm so, like, compassionate, a lot more like loving, a lot more like understanding, especially it helps with work as well. Nothing's a problem. Like, I just breeze through life. I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's not a problem, like, because I feel like I've been in worse situations. So, like, the smallest thing now just, like, blows straight over my head. But in the sense of the parking fine, this is a tough one. So this teacher had asked me, this is the height of, like, on the verge of giving me job up and my life's going down the drain. And a teacher, I used to teach a little girl, she'd rang me and asked if I could make this, like, video of, like, how good my life was and, like, where I was up with my career and my life plans and all this. And I was like, yeah, that's great. Obviously, would have no idea my actual reality. I was holding myself together very well. And I remember, like, coming home, I was thinking, oh, I can't do this. And I remember, like, I'd seen her that weekend. She was like, you getting on all right? I was like, yeah, it's getting on fine. And it was going to be played at, like, I think it was, like, the Year 11 Awards or something. And I was like, oh, my God. And I remember sitting there and, like, doing it. And I was like, hi, like, introduce myself. And I would never, like, not do something. Like, I'm not scared of, like, I could always be at, like, the front of assembly. So I thought, I can't back out and say, like, I'm too nervous, because she knows me. Like, she knows it wouldn't bother me. And I was sat there and I was like, you know what? This has actually been really good for me. I'm not going to do it because I'm not being honest. Now, can I sit there and be like, hi, guys? Life's not very good after high school. Things have not gone to plan. I'm giving me job up. This. I would deem that as not a good video. It's probably it wouldn't be what she wanted.
A very honest video, but it wouldn't be the one that we were looking for.
It would be very honest, but I don't think that's what she was looking for at the time, which is obviously understandable. She doesn't want me to like, tell me life problems.
Yeah, we've got a past student here with all the issues that she's dealing with. We've got this past student
with all these problems. This is what you've got to look forward to adult life, guys.
Yeah, she's close to rock bottom, but she's all right.
She's really, really close. And so anyway, this night, I don't even know what possessed me. I'd always like, this is like, I'd always sit in Mackie's car park and watch a podcast on a Tuesday night. This was like my routine. It's the one day I wouldn't work, and I'd sit there, probably like just had like a bad week. I'd like hold myself together. And what possessed me to this day to go to St Helens Mackie's, and I remember I had a Mackie's there. I'd never really like eat it.
All places.
I don't know why I did it. Anyway, I was sat and I was like, right, I was so anxious about like, I was like, I'm not making this video because I've got to be true to myself. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to write her a nice little email. And I wrote it and like took my time and basically just like explains like, thank you so much for taking the time to, you know, think about me for this. I really appreciate it. But this is actually my reality. This is what's going on. I can't sit there and write a video on how, speak about like how great things are, because it's completely not my reality. But I'm glad it like seems like that. And it's quite humbling now, like at the bottom of the video. And I was like, I'd said like, in a couple of years when I get back to being myself, if you want like a video on like motivation and like how to get through things, like I'll be the perfect person, but I'm sorry, I can't help you. So like actually looking back now and seeing where I am, it is good, to be honest, because at the time like I was sat there obviously like crying my heart out, because it's never nice to admit that like you're not doing well, if that makes sense. Like no one wants to go, yeah, my life's not really going well. Like it's a lot easier just to like pretend like everything's fine, and when you have to like actually face reality that things aren't going well, it's a very tough pill to swallow, but it's one that I needed to do.
Yeah, and, acknowledgement, it almost puts you in the right direction.
Yeah,
to begin
like
with.
it was. I'd probably put it up there with like, not in the sense of like, oh, it was healing, but in a sense it was like I had to face me reality and think. And it was a very tough pill to swallow, because I didn't want to do it. Like it would be far easier for me to just sit there, make a video. Oh, I'm a spin teacher. This is what I do. This is what I do. But I was on the verge of getting rid of it all and not knowing if I was ever going to like get better. But the whole thing, the thing was, I'd sat in this car park that long. A couple of weeks later, I'd got this parking fine. I was like, So I was like, ripped it open. But I was like, what have you got a parking fine from? I was like, I don't know. And I was like reading it, and I was like, oh, I'd been to Lot Lane for my friend's birthday, and I was like, it must have been from there. Like, because I don't park anywhere where I know you're not meant to park. So I was like, oh, it doesn't even matter. Like, and I was reading it. And then I realised, like, I think I Googled the address, and I was like, I knew exactly where it's from. I was like, have I actually got a parking fine from sitting in my car and crying for like 3 hours on a Tuesday?
I'm sure you can park there for like 2 hours.
Yeah, you can. I'd been there for like 3 hours writing this email of why I couldn't. I was sat there writing this email of why I couldn't do a video on how good my life was, because it really, really wasn't. I was on like rock bottom. And then to top it off, I had a parking fine, £60 it cost me, honestly. But the lesson from that is like, when you're in such, it doesn't even surprise me that happened to me, because you're on such a low vibration, you just keep attracting problems into your life. Like I said before, people that you'll know this always happens to me. 9 times out of 10, they keep attracting problems in their life, and that's because everything's energy. So like that parking fine, I was like, yeah, completely understand why that happens. Like, and obviously,
it's like you're looking for it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like I was probably literally looking for. Obviously, I wasn't at the time.
Yeah.
But I remember, honestly, I got this parking fine. I was like, you know what? It was like, you pay it in 2 weeks and it's 60, or you leave and it's 100. I was like, I'm just gonna pay it. I'm sitting there with my cards, just thinking like, oh my God. And I remember going, I was like, God, like, please, like, whatever lessons you're trying to teach me, I'm learning them. Like, I can't cope
afford them now.
I can't cope with any more things coming into my life. Like, please. And honestly, I kept getting the lessons, but.
So
yeah.
Have you done that video then since?
No, I never have. You know, I should really, to be honest. Like,
things you could talk about when you were first
imagine that.
whole thing.
Hi guys, yeah, I was sat there and I couldn't write the video, so then I got a parking fine.
Cost me £60, couldn't afford it because I quit my job.
You
yeah.
Didn't you?
Yeah.
It was.
I was a prefect too.
Was yeah. Oh, well done.
Teacher's pet, both of us.
I'm sure I can say her name. She's an absolutely lovely teacher. I don't even know if she still works there anymore. Sarah. But I'm going to say it was Sarah. She was an IT teacher.
Oh yes, I know her. Yeah, she was my IT teacher at one point.
Was she? No way. Well, I had Miss.
I had her as well.
I absolutely loved Miss. But I
threw a snowball right in her face.
Did you?
By accident.
Oh.
Yeah. She was sound
quite
about
sound though. I'm sure she was fine.
Yeah, she was dead sound about it.
Yeah,
she was me.
Really, she was Miss was my business and IT teacher, and then Miss. Obviously, I just knew her from that, and then I used to teach her little daughter to swim. So that's how I'd known it. But I should really, to be honest, I'm sure in the future the opportunity will come up. It would be a funny story to tell. But I feel like I've literally lived to tell the tale. Some of these. Literally, I don't know how I've got there.
Be good. Like, I've done things since I left college and stuff. I've gone back into my own college a few times to do like careers talks and stuff. And it is good to go in there and just help people because you've lived through it and there's lessons that you can teach people that are either going through it or potentially gonna go through it, and it's probably quite helpful.
Yeah, I think that at the time, like, I would never do something and think, oh, I'm doing this because in 2 years' time I'll appreciate it. Like, I didn't even view things like that. I was literally just like getting through the day and like trying to. I don't like to use the term survive, but in some aspects I would literally just try and get through the day and like just hold myself together. But then it's only in hindsight that I look back and like the lessons that I learned from every single thing not going right, even not just with the knee, but just through the whole, like, all the different issues that I had. And there's probably more as well that I've not spoken about. Like, I wouldn't have known any of that without just going for it and trying and doing my own thing, where you're not taught like that in school. Like, you know, in school I learned all these different things, but no one gave me a guide to survive an injury when you're not being believed. Like, I didn't, you know, that's actually something that you need in life, but I didn't learn anything like that. I didn't know anyone that was going through the same thing, so I just had to like literally go through it and learn the lessons on the way.
And you came out the other side and in a better position for doing so.
Yeah, just about definitely a better person for it.
So, kind of linking into that stuff then, there's a quote that you really like, and I guess it links very well with your swimming teaching. I'll let you say the quote and why it's so important to you.
When you feel scared to jump, that's exactly when you jump in. So I said this to one of my children, Max, the other week. We're not talking about like a 4-year-old, by the way. I'm not like getting children to like jump in and they're really scared. He's like, he must be about 7 or 8, and we were going to do the sinker, which is where you get the toys from the bottom of the pool. And he's like the strongest in the class because I moved them up the week after. And he was like, oh no, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I was like, no, Max, like I know you can do it. Like, I've taught him for probably about a year, so we've got like a really good relationship. And I was like, no, Max, front now. And I was like, right, look at me. And I always go to the kids, what do we say? And they go, because I've got them to learn it, they go, I can do it. I go, in the mind, if you can see it, that you can do it, you will be able to achieve it. So what do we say? And they go, I can do it. I went, Max, and you go, no, I can't do it. I go, Max, when you feel scared to jump, that's exactly when you jump in. And he was like, I can feel my ass. And I was like, just go for it. Go. And it is quite hard. Like, I can't stand up in one of the pools that are teaching. So he's like going, he comes up with it and he gets out and he goes, yes. And I was like, oh. And like my heart, and I was like, I knew you could do it. And like the belief that he had in himself. And I was like, you know what? Every time in life I think, oh, like with the podcast, I was like, oh God, how do I get out of this again? Like, this is a little bit out of my comfort zone. I was thinking, you know what? I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't do this, because I've said to Max, no, come on. When you feel scared to jump, that's when you jump in. So I was like, no, that is me, one of my 2025 goals.
Gotta whenever you're that. Walk.
Yeah. What did you say?
Gotta walk the walk as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, you know, I can't practice what I preach. So no, book me in for that podcast on Wednesday, George.
I know it has been going on for a while trying to get you on, actually.
I know, you mentioned it ages ago and I was just like, you'd want me on a podcast? Are you sure? I was like, well, what would we talk about? And you were like, we literally talk like forever. And I was like, right, okay, yeah, get me in.
Like, I lent you my power dots that time, didn't I, when you were looking at getting some?
Yeah,
and I literally
really
came round to just drop them off at your house, and you ended up standing outside the car when it was like raining for about 45 minutes.
We just get on some sort of like mad topic and then that's it, yeah. I could speak to a brick wall, to be honest. It's like me.
There's not a bad thing for a podcast.
Exactly. We can't complain.
No. But, so, just going back to the swimming then, obviously you've mentioned you're a swimming teacher. How does that fill your cup up? How does that sort of fulfill you? Is it the things where, like you said, there was a kid struggling and then they go in and they're buzzing because they did it afterwards? Like, what is it that you enjoy about being a swimming coach?
Wow, I absolutely love it. And don't get me wrong, obviously I did swimming when I was younger, so there's a level that I obviously enjoy teaching because it's something that I enjoy, but I think as well, like, it's an element of just like teaching that I really enjoy. Like, I feel like when you have like a passion and you can share it, it doesn't even feel like work. Like I don't ever dread going to work. Like I look forward to it. Like even if I was off doing something, I'd be thinking, oh, I wonder how the kids are getting on. Like I have such like a love for them, and like I want them to do well. Like you have to like make it their business. And actually that child Max, oh God, this like broke my heart months ago. He went to go to a swimming party, but he's just a little bit later like learning to swim, and he didn't want to go with armbands on. And at the time, like obviously he's swimming now, and he was like, oh, he really wanted to go, but he couldn't go. And honestly, I was nearly in tears at the thought of like him not going. And I never like make a promise to a child if I can't keep it, because I know like how like I wouldn't do that. And I remember sat down, I had like tears in my eyes. I was like, Max, I promise you, give it 6 months and I will have you swimming. And like to say that is to like know that you're gonna commit. You know you're not gonna be off all the time. You're gonna commit to that shift. You're gonna be there week in, week out to build that rapport. But that's something that like I value so much, and that's something that I value so important in life. Like the other day I was walking into work, and it's like 8:30 on a Sunday morning, and all I can hear is Izzy, Izzy, and I like look over at the car park, and one of my little kids is coming in, and she's like shouting at me. She was like this. I was like, and I just think, you know what, like what more could you ask for? Like that's what makes me like happy. Like don't get me wrong, obviously we all need to work, we all need like money is just like money is just like energy. It is just like you exchange your time for the energy of money, but we all need it. Like I couldn't function without it, but it does so much more, the teaching, than just like a job. Like it makes me so happy. Like it's the little things in life, like when they finally do something that they've been really struggling with, or it just clicks. And like just like the relationships and the rapport that you build with the children and parents is absolutely lovely. Like sometimes you get to know them on such a greater level, and like sometimes you are their safe space. It's not just swimming, it's like they think that you're swimming as well. So like when I'd be off, people would be like, oh, they missed you last week, and I'm like, oh, I know. And obviously like I've still got to have a life, but it's something that I value so much, like what the impact that you can have on children. And like yeah, it's something that's like priceless. And I think it's something that unless maybe you like teach yourself, you won't really understand. But it's something that like obviously when I gave it up, I was distraught to let it go. And I always knew like where there's a will, there's a way. I will get back to doing something that I love. And I remember when I got back to it, I was like, this is amazing. And it's not that I didn't appreciate it. I was like, I appreciate things so much more now, because like I've had to let stuff go. And it kind of leads to the point of like it made me evaluate what mattered in my life. Like going out, drinking or doing this, like, yeah, it's all right. But it's not what I wanted at that point. Like I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to go back to work. I wanted to do the things that I loved. So like all of a sudden, like my life, I just started like aligning things that really matter, and that's how we go forward. We're kind of going off the point now of me starting teaching, but it's something that I always say to people, like, do the things that like serve your soul. Some people go, oh God, you work on a Sunday. And I'm like, it's just a different day to me. Like I'll work whatever I can do to enjoy what I do. So if it means working on Sunday, it means. I don't go and think, oh, I hate working on Sunday. I love it. Absolutely love it. But because it serves my soul. Now, if I was like doing a job that I really didn't like and all my mates were out on Sunday, I would probably be thinking, oh God, I wish I was with them. But I like appreciate where I am in the present moment. I never live going, oh, I wish I was doing that, or I wish I was doing that. With the teaching, you have to be present. I can't be thinking about what I'm having for tea. I've got to be in the present moment. Like, I'm in control of like the lesson. If something goes wrong, it's completely on me. So it makes me like actually be present in the moment, which is something that I think is so valuable in life, because sometimes we're always thinking about like the next big thing, or I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But when you're present, like, even though it can be a bit stressful with the kids, like it's a level of like calmness, I think. You've got to
I
have
think
under
every
control.
job's got a stress, hasn't it?
Yeah,
It's
no, of
just
course. Like
everyone's got
it's
different
hard,
ways of dealing with it.
especially when I've got a couple of new ones that they cry, and you've got to like carry on the lesson, and they're like screaming, and I'm just thinking, oh, like they'll scream down. There's people like sat in the sauna, and I'm just thinking, oh no. But there's nothing you can do. They're only little. Like, it's fine.
You're getting good practicing as well if you ever become a mum.
I hope so one day.
Getting
I
early
really,
doors.
yeah, honestly feel like obviously it's completely different. It is
Yeah.
different. Yeah, I think the impact that you can have on children, and it's like so valuable. And I've learned that I don't think I'd have learned it any other way. Like the impact and like the things like people will like say to me. Like I remember there was like a dad, a little girl, and she'd moved up, and he'd like explained it, and he said as soon as I said, "Oh, you're moving up with Izzy," her little face like lit up, and like that's like a feeling that's like up there to me.
Yeah.
So like I really value something like that, but it makes me like value the little things in life. Or when someone says, "Oh, I remember I actually bumped into a girl who I taught years ago outside of Next and Witness," and as I like go over, I hadn't said she was like, "Is he?" And I kind of went over, and she was introduced. She must be like high school age now, but she was introducing me to like a friend that she was with, and she was like, "Oh." And just like how she spoke to me, I felt like a bit choked up. She was like, "Oh, she had the best swimming lessons. You were the best swimming teacher ever. I loved your lessons." And like that's the impact that I've had, and like the remembrance that she's had. And like I remember getting in the car and I had a bit of a tear in my eye because I was like, "Oh, that's really like touched my soul." But
Yeah.
it links back to like things that serve your soul. You can't go through life doing things because it looks good or it's a good job, or it's like when people go, "Oh, well, it pays this much." And don't get me wrong, like money's obviously important, but it's not the pinnacle point. If you go every day to a job that drains the life out of you, how do you think you can show up in the world when you finish that night? Do you think you show up with loads of energy and loads of get go? No, you're probably absolutely drained. And it's not to say that like obviously there's times in like other jobs that you have to go through hard phases, but like if you're doing that 24/7 like all the time, like no, it's I just feel like you'll just drain the life out of yourself.
Yeah, like I get a similar sort of fulfillment from doing my online coaching. So I obviously have a full-time job as well, so I'm not bragging on it. I don't need the money from my online PT. I do it because I enjoy helping people, and then like the messages I get from people seeing results and stuff, and the impact it can have. Like I've had clients that have messaged me saying like, "Oh, because you taught me this, this, and this, I don't need a coach anymore." That's what I want to hear. Is like,
Yeah,
I don't want clients for like 5 years. I want you to go and be able to do it yourself
yeah,
at some point. So yeah, it's a similar sort of fulfillment, I guess, in terms of like the way you're having a lasting impact on the kids teaching.
yeah. It's something that like it's unless you know that feeling, you just won't like. It's something that I appreciate so much, but it allows me to like align things in my life that are on a similar like wave level. Where like if it just doesn't serve me, I don't need to like I don't it's not that I'm like the most disciplined person in the world, but if it doesn't serve me, I don't need to entertain it. Like I'll do things that serve my soul, like what makes me happy. Because if a lot of people, if I said to people, "What makes you happy?" They wouldn't know. But as soon as you start finding out things, then your life starts aligning and things get better.
It's like you were saying as well about bringing the energy to those lessons. Like I obviously have a long day of work, and then I look forward to doing the podcast because I enjoy doing it. I don't make any money off it or anything. I just enjoy having these conversations, and more recently, just chatting shit straight down a camera lens to myself. So yeah, it's similar really. Like I enjoy just doing it. I don't do it for money because I don't get paid from it. I don't have enough subscribers yet on YouTube. Hopefully one day it'd be nice to have a
Manifest it, George. Manifest
little
it.
side income. But yeah, we'll wrap this one up with a final question.
Okay.
Is there any one piece of advice that you could give someone, and what would it be?
I would say it is like to always, or be it being so in tune with yourself, like always believe in yourself, like know yourself so well. Or should we say, be your own best friend. When you're your own best friend, like, you'll do everything in life to help yourself. You won't put yourself in situations that don't serve you. You won't like overindulge in food and then be like, "Oh, I feel dead sick." You just won't do it. It's not to say that you won't have a treat, but you won't do it all the time. You know what I mean? Like when you eat something, you're like, "Oh no, I shouldn't have done that." When you're your own best friend, like you just do things in life for yourself. You don't do it to impress someone. You don't do it because your friends will like you more. You just do it for yourself. And that's something that like I literally live by. Yeah. Like I always go on like long walks on my own and I like, do you not like get bored? I'm like, no, I love it. I love being in my own company. I love being in my own little world. And like that like fills my cup. I love it. So best advice, be in tune with yourself. Be your own best friend. If you're your own best friend, you'll always want the best. You'd never say to your best friend like, "Oh, you'd never speak harshly to them." So don't speak harshly to yourself, because spelling is your words, everything's energy, you know.
It sure is. I think that's a good piece of advice.
Yeah, always be in tune with yourself.
Izzy, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me waffling for literally about 2 hours. An hour and a half, not too bad.
Not too bad.
You've got off lightly there, George.
Probably have to get you on another time anyway, for a few other conversations.
No, definitely we will.
But thank you very much for coming on. If you've got this far, please drop a like or a review, and if you are new, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.